Today we're very happy to welcome and have with us Dr. Yanis Ben Amor, the Executive Director of the Sustainable Development Institute at Columbia University. Today he's going to share with us some of his insights of the work he's doing in the developing world, which also applies digital tools and artificial intelligence. So thank you for joining us today and welcome to the Delphi Forum.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
So we're very excited to hear about your work that you've been speaking about the past few days on panels about applications for AI in the health sector and also in education. So can you first give us a little bit of information about some of your key research and the things that you're most excited about in these fields?
Sure. So I'm going to go back to the origin. When I first found out about, large language models and ChatGPT, I'm an educator. I'm a professor at Columbia, and my first reaction was relatively negative, actually. I was worried about how the students could be using this tool in order to cheat. And the thing is, the way that most professors do assessments is through writing essays. And so it's something that all of a sudden the large language model simplifies. And I just worried about how am I going to find out that my teaching is effective if what I am reading might not be the product of the students that I am teaching. Luckily, I am not that old. And that prehistoric mindset lasted all about 3 weeks. And then I had a 180-degree change of thought. And I thought, wow, imagine back in the late 90s, there were certainly professors who, when they were exposed to the internet, thought, we have to make sure that this stays out of the hand of our students. We still want them to go to the library, pick up the books, look at the citation. Imagine if this was still the case. We would not be making any progress. And so I wanted to make sure that I don't apply that type of antiquity thought, and quite the opposite. Try to imagine how this tool can be useful for the students, first at Columbia, and then in the world, to help them actually become integral part of the workforce of the future. And so that's why I started an initiative called Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Work, where I am doing everything I can to integrate AI tools into curricula in various fields. So we have right now 5 streams of that we're looking at: health, education, ethics, macroeconomics, and also dissemination to low and middle income countries. And I'm happy to give a little bit of insights into all of these. But right now, the initiative runs in every part of the world. We have partner universities and private sector in South America, of course, North America, Europe, Sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa, Middle East, and South Asia. So it's a very, very wide initiative, and we're encompassing, hopefully, a lot of the cultural backgrounds and the diversity of this beautiful planet. Because, artificial intelligence, a lot of the criticism that you can hear is that it can be biased as a tool if it's developed in only one part of the world. And so that is really one thing that we're trying to avoid by bringing in as many voices as possible, so that we encompass all of the cultural diversities and the mindsets of most of the people on this planet. So very briefly, what the initiative is doing on health is trying to predict for the private sector what a transition to low and middle income country will mean. A lot of the private companies right now are developing amazing AI tools for health that are designed for the global north, because there is expertise, because there is infrastructure, but there is probably a little bit of a fear. How are these tools going to transition to low and middle income countries? So what our group is doing, and there's a group of 25 people right now from all over the world, we are in advance of them bringing AI tools in one particular country, in Rwanda, which is a low and middle income country, and we are going to look at every single challenge that we're encountering while bringing this tool in this setting, and we'll then write a roadmap that will hopefully serve as a blueprint for these companies who are interested in bringing their tools to low and middle income countries.
Can you share with us any insights on some of the challenges you're facing? I imagine even just connectivity could be a problem in some African countries.
So there are challenges we expected, and there are new challenges in the current climate that we did not expect. So connectivity, yes. training, staff training, although now in 2025, and particularly in Rwanda, I have to say, it's probably less of an issue. The problem that we did not anticipate when we started thinking about this project in October of 2024 were all of the funding cuts in global health. And these funding cuts directly affect health workforce in low and middle income countries, including Rwanda, which means that some of the health professionals, doctors, nurses that we were planning to work with are no longer there. And so that is an issue that is affecting the development world, is also going to be affecting some of the private sector who are thinking about bringing tools to low and middle income countries in this current climate.
Yes, I can imagine that the challenges are increasing, and once again, we're going to have to be a bit creative in our thinking and find new ways to foster resilience in these systems. One of the key concerns with artificial intelligence is that it will exacerbate inequalities as opposed to reducing them. Do you see any hope in this regard that AI, if it's delivered appropriately in the global south, that it's going to be able to bridge this gap, and what's needed to ensure that it's deployed effectively in a positive way?
Thank you for bringing this up, because part of the reason why I brought this initiative to Colombia, I am originally from North Africa, I am from Tunisia, and one of my concerns was, the students in the US and the students in Europe, they're going to be fine. Somehow their universities will be teaching them about these new technologies, and they will be effective workers on the global market. What about the very talented students from North Africa, from the Middle East, from South Asia? Maybe they won't have access to this because the educational system is not going to be teaching, or just because there is a lack of infrastructure, or because the funding is not there. So part of what the initiative is trying to do is really couple our work with local universities so that at least the curricula is available, so we can teach the talent in those countries some of the important lessons in artificial intelligence. That is only one part of the triangle. There are three components. Talent is one, infrastructure is another one. So you have to have access to data centers, computing power, etc. And you have to have resources. So in the global south, that is going to be a challenge. One of the reasons why there's going to be a digital divide, unless we come together from multiple angles. So I'm academia. What we're trying to help is with the talent side, with the curriculum side. I was just in Rwanda last week. There was the first AI Summit for Africa that took place in Kigali on April 4th and 5th. And there they disclosed a new fund for Africa, AI Fund for Africa, that is going to be $60 billion specifically for developing infrastructure. So building the data centers, bringing the compute to Africa, electrification, connectivity, but also creating centers of excellence where local talents will be able to be given all of the information and all the curricula that they need in order to, again, be workers that are competitive on the global market. Back in 2024, so this is already old data, but the IMF at the World Economic Forum in Davos said that they predicted that 40% of workers from low and middle income countries just will have no chance of being competitive on the global market because of this digital divide.
Okay. So you gave us a little bit of optimism and hope that there's a roadmap being put in place, but the challenges do seem that they're large, as long as there is the appropriate support in the background, and I think focus from the international community that this needs to be a priority. Then hopefully there will be a pathway. Let's move a little bit away from Africa and move someplace closer to home, Greece. So can you tell us a little bit about what you could see are some challenges and opportunities for the use of artificial intelligence close to home?
Absolutely. So I will preface that I am not an expert in, what is happening in Greece. So maybe some of these ideas are coming just from interactions that I've had with some of the experts and colleagues over the past 3 days. But I will say that I see that there is a dual polarization. So the first polarization is between countries who have the finances to move forward with AI infrastructures and those who don't have the finance. So like we said, Africa right now doesn't have the finance. But within the countries who have the finance, there is another polarization. Those who believe that artificial intelligence is going to be transformational, and those who don't yet think so or don't believe it. Where do you think Greece stands? So I was attending an event yesterday, which was titled Future of Work in Greece. And they released some early results from a study that was actually all of Europe, but they gave us the results for Greece. One of the questions that I found really interesting, particularly the answer. So this was a study of 100 C-level executives, all Greek. So your CFO, CTO, CEOs, and they asked the question about whether they believed that bringing AI into their company would increase productivity. 24% of the C-level executives said no, and 57% said probably less than 10%. That means that out of the sample size, 75% believe that artificial intelligence is not going to be transformational. It's not going to improve productivity of the workers. So in that case, why would they invest in skilling their workers for artificial intelligence? I found it really interesting. Again, I am not an expert on the Greek context, but talking to colleagues from academia, it seems that even in academia, it hasn't yet caught on. So I asked a question during that panel because one of the conclusions was the workforce in Greece has to be reskilled and upskilled. Great. But is there actually a partnership with Greek academia to make sure that from the start, these AI skills are being taught? Because otherwise, the Greek academia are going to continue to churn out a workforce that is going to be outdated within 5 years of being in the workplace. And so you're going to constantly have to reskill and upskill. I think it's very key that on the government side and on the academia side, there is more of an understanding how critical the AI infrastructure and AI skills are going to be for the future, for a future economy where Greek has a strong position within Europe and within the world.
Yes, thank you for those points. So now that we're coming to the conclusion of our interview, I'd like it if you could maybe dare to make some forward-looking statements about the future of AI, how you see it in the world over the next 5-10 years developing, also keeping in mind the current geopolitical issues that are around AI and these new technologies.
So a French philosopher said that the world is split into two, the optimists and the pessimists. The optimists are the one who invent the plane, and the pessimists are the one who invent the parachute. So I think that that's a very good image that we have to keep in mind for AI in its development. I am an optimist. I think that we should trust all the potential that AI can have. And I can give you a few. My background is health. I'm a molecular biologist. In the last 2 years only, we have found new antibiotics within hours that we didn't know could possibly exist. I mean, artificial intelligence can reduce research from 100 years to down to 2 hours. And I predict that in the next 5 years, there will be amazing treatment for cancer, Parkinson, Alzheimer, new antibiotics, new antivirals. So that is the optimist side. Of course, AI is also used for militarization. AI is used for darker sides that the common public is not necessarily aware of. So that's the pessimist, where we have to make sure that whoever is developing these AI tools, that there is still some infrastructure in place to make sure that they cannot go too far outside of certain confined areas, not to stifle innovation. I would never want to do that, but to make sure that it doesn't go into an area where it could become critical against mankind or the security of multiple people at the expense of one country, for example.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your time today and for your wisdom and for all of the wonderful that you're working in the field of AI and health and education throughout the world.
Thank you, Cheryl.